ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So here's my rant of the week. You know, we've talked here about delegating before and how we try to delegate to our spouses, for example, some of the things we do all the time, and things don't get done to our specifications. But I still been trying. You know, my husband's off for the summer. So when there's been things like my daughter having to go to the doctor, I said, go to the doctor with her. She's an adult, really. She should be talking to the doctor herself. Go with her for moral support, you know, sit in the office with her in case the doctor has any questions. And I merrily send them off. It was a minor thing. She, you know, had something with her toe going on. And so I'm sitting here doing my work, enjoying having somebody to delegate to, and the phone rings, and it's the doctor. And he's asking me, why didn't we do this thing that we talked about before? And I explained it to him, and we debated it a little bit back and forth, because he and I have a disagreement on it. And then he hung up, and I thought, gee, that's kind of weird. You know, why couldn't he have just asked her? It's her situation. Or why my husband couldn't have answered any of these questions? That's kind of weird. So they get home and they start telling me about the visit. And I said, well, I know he called me. He called you. So the doctor, without even saying to the patient or the patient's parent who was there in the office, just went into the back room and called me.
No.
I'm like, he said he was going to go call the pharmacist to ask, and either he didn't do that at all, or he called the pharmacist, and the pharmacist didn't know, so he called me.
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, really? Really? You have an adult patient. You have the adult patient's father, and you still have to go call the mother? I can never get out of this loop. I'm always in this loop. What the heck? And my daughter was really offended that the doctor had called me.
No doubt.
And my husband, I said, well, you shouldn't be offended. Your dad should be offended because he was sitting right there, you know? So from his point of view, he took the time to go and do this thing, and he might as well just have been, you know, a purse on the floor for all the good he did being there.
Purse on the floor. So he was actually in the room, or was he in the waiting area?
No, I think he was in the room with her.
Oh, wow.
But the doctor left the room, left
Right.
the examining room, went to a back room, and called me without telling them.
Oh.
That's weird, right?
That's kind of weird, but I guess, you know, he's used to
dealing with me.
Yeah.
And I mean, in his defense, you know, it was something he and I had talked about before. So possibly he called the pharmacist and then he remembered that but I would think that he would say, hey, is it okay if I call your mom and ask about this?
Right.
Or, did your wife talk to you about this at all? Do you remember why we did this? At least talk to the people who are physically there
Well,
before you call the mom. Or is it just, mom has to be there in some form? It's
Right.
ridiculous to go without mom, because mom is the one who is always going to have
I
the
kind of
information.
feel like that because my son's 21 now, and I have been sending him off to his own doctor's appointments for the last couple of years. But recently, he just seems to be getting such a runaround with his doctors.
Yes.
And I feel like I need to kind of step in because,
Yes.
you know, it's stuff that you and I wouldn't put up with. I mean, he's made 3 different appointments with his doctor, and on 3 occasions he's gotten a different doctor. Like they've put him with somebody else who's in the building. And I'm thinking, no, this isn't right. Like, because each doctor doesn't know him or have a history with him.
Yeah.
And they're not even addressing what he's there for. So, because he's following up from an initial appointment way back when. And I'm thinking, why are, you know, do I need to go with him? Be his, mommy and advocate for him when he's 21?
It's awful, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, the last time we were at this doctor that I remember, I sent her in by herself because she's an adult and she is able to advocate for herself. She, you know, doesn't communicate all that clearly sometimes, but it doesn't take that much to be able to communicate with her. So I said, I'll be sitting here in the waiting room for moral support. You go in and have this appointment. So in that time, the doctor came out of the room with her, walked out to the waiting room and had a conversation with me, which was bad enough. But I think in that case, he may have asked her and she said, I don't know. How do you... I mean, we've talked about this with doctors before, but it's like, you know, it's hard enough to get the kid to want to advocate for themselves.
Right.
if the doctors aren't even
they aren't
wanting to engage.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't believe that a doctor of adults would want the mom to be there. I felt like saying when he called me, she's right there. It's her blood pressure. Talk to her about it. Why are you talking to me about it? It's if she needs to do this thing, you need to convince her to do it. Don't convince me and then I have to convince her. What are you getting money for? I'm going to get a bill for this. I'm going to bill you back. Patient ombudsman. That's my job.
Patient ombudsman.
So, you can't win. You try to delegate and it comes bouncing back to you. Responsibility is the tennis ball of parenting.
It is. You send it out there, it inevitably comes back.
Right back. Well, oftentimes it bounces right up here onto the Parenting Roundabout podcast. So I will say hello and welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now, right this very minute, as I have just done. I'm Terri Morrow, and with me today are Nicole Eridix.
Hello.
And Catherine Haleko.
Hi.
Today on the podcast, we're going to talk about entertaining teens on our Friday speed round. Is that like herding cats? Possibly. We're going to shout out some stuff we like on the Roundabout Roundup, and we're going to do some shameless self-promotion. But first, teens and screens. Catherine, what do you got to say about teens and screens? Let me just turn now and look at my phone while you're talking.
We have certainly on this podcast discussed kids and screens, and we have stated our position that we think the constant hand ringing and alarm bell ringing over kids and technology is frustrating because, one size just doesn't fit all, and there's lots of reasons for kids to use screens and for parents to allow it, and, none of your business. But
it's my general parenting model.
Right. But when kids become teens, we're just sort of thinking about whether that changes and whether there's sort of an etiquette or a manners issue at some point where your kids' noses are in their phones and it starts to be rude. And we're just kind of trying to figure that out. So we're going to do that in real time right now.
Well, Nicole, you've had a situation with this recently, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not pointing fingers, but my daughter has been overly social lately. And we've had a lot of teens in and out of the house, friends and otherwise, for various reasons. And the one thing that has become painfully clear is they can't put their phones down. Even when they're socializing, their phones are in their hands and they're looking at their screens. Or they're taking photos for their Instagram or Snapchat. Like, I kid you not, 2 nights ago, my daughter had some friends over and they were going to do s'mores, which in 99-degree heat didn't make sense, but whatever. And might I add, this was like an hour before a fire evacuation notice came up on our phones.
Oh, no.
Yeah, classic timing. So, but at one point I looked out the window and they were all roasting their marshmallows in one hand and they had their phone in the other hand and they were taking photos of themselves roasting marshmallows, all of them. Like, there were 8 of them and they were all sitting around the campfire or the fire with these marshmallows in their left hand and their phone in their right hand, and they're taking pictures of themselves. So, but, it's fine. I get that they want to record those precious moments. But it's bordering a bit on obnoxious. And I mean, when you talk to them, they won't even look up at you. And if you provide them with opportunities to see and do things, they're not even paying attention. So it's like, it's frustrating because we, like as you were saying earlier, when they're younger, we're kind of advocating for, well, whatever works, right? Like, we're not judging and everybody has their reasons. But For me now, I'm seeing kind of like the generation that's grown up with screens. It's not pretty.
Well,
I have to tell you.
Essentially, what you're saying is that teenagers these days are all caught up in their own things. They don't listen to adults. They're not interested in adult points of view. They don't listen when you talk. Is that not teenagers forever?
Well, I'm not
It's just
saying...
a different thing that's ticking the adults off.
No.
If they were in their bedrooms listening to rock and roll on their hi-fis, would you be complaining about that?
But they don't take their high fives with them when they go to the store, or when they go to school, or when they go
I don't know.
You know, I mean, I guess they could carry the boom box around on their shoulder, but
yeah,
no,
the job of teenagers is to find things that ticks parents off,
this
right?
is a different level because they're not even interacting with one another. Like,
that's where there's a problem.
That's where the problem is, because yes, I get that they want to disconnect from parents. I totally understand that. I respect it. I, give them their space as needed and as much as I can handle, of course.
Yeah.
But they're not even interacting with one another. I mean, they're sitting, because so they sat around the fire, they all had their phones in their hands. Then they came inside and sat on the couch. They all had the phones in their hands. We were watching a movie last night with my friend, or my daughter and her friend. They have the phone in their hands.
You sure they weren't all texting each other?
Oh, no, they're doing all their, other social media stuff. And that's where it gets frustrating, because it's like, okay, well, why am I putting myself out there? Why am I providing this experience and this opportunity when you're going to do the same thing regardless? You're not, it's not going to, so I'll take you for a drive and show you around the city, but you've got your nose in your phone the whole time. Like, why do I provide these experiences and opportunities when there's no... Well, and I also think it's a difference between when they're interacting with each other and when they're interacting with adults or other people who, like when it's a group of teens all together and they're all on their phones, they kind of all have that implicit agreement that this is what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like they want to be on Snapchat or whatever. But if there's somebody in the group who isn't doing that, or if there's someone like an adult or, who's sort of not part of that socialization that they're doing on their phone, then that's where it becomes kind of, is it rude? Is it unfair to that person, to that other person?
Yeah. We have that situation. My son's best buddy is completely off the grid. I can't believe that anybody still is in this time, but he doesn't have his own phone. He doesn't have any social media presence at all. And I think they have a computer at home, but I don't know that they use it very much. So there have been times when my son has friends over and he and his sister and his other friends all have their phones and are all looking at their phones. And then this kid is just sitting there. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't have any problem with y'all using your phones, but you're being rude to your friend. When he is here, you can't do that. Yeah. And it's really hard for them. I mean, they play games and stuff, but then they're still all looking at and stuff and posting stuff. And I'm almost feeling like I'm just going to buy this kid a burner phone, and whenever he comes over, I'm going to give it to him just so he'll be able to, pretend he's doing what everybody else does.
It's true, though. I think there are several people in Kristen's group who don't have as much freedom on their phones as what we give Kristen and some of her other friends get. And they're left out in a lot of respects, which is sad. But so they're maybe not as engaged in their phone and more willing to be talking. But I think we're like, okay, have the screens when you're younger, but we're failing to teach them, or it feels like we're failing to provide them with those boundaries.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing that I always wonder, what is a true etiquette situation and what is the times they are a change-in situation. Mm-hmm. What is the future of socialization going to look like? If the future of socialization is going to look like everybody interacting on screens, if you're going to go to your work and you're going to be on screens and you're going to be handling everything through teleconferencing on your phone, then those are skills you want your kid to learn. And maybe we need to say to the parent whose kid doesn't have a phone or doesn't have much ability, you're holding your kid back. This is what socialization looks like now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or do we need to say that person-to-person communication is always going to be a skill that's useful, and we need to practice it at least part of our day? I'm really not sure which way that goes, because I'm looking at a world that's, I work at home for 3 different companies. I never see those people face to face, and I'm very happy. Are we looking at a future where that's going to be the thing? In which case, this isn't an aberration. This is the new way it is. We don't go to barn dances anymore. Things change over time.
Well, I think mine is more not so much about, okay, I get the whole socialization piece, but part of that too is just having some respect and having some manners. Call me old-fashioned, but there are serious lack of manners that are going on out there. And, when you can't even look somebody in the eye and say hello, when they say hello to you, I'm sorry, but that's just decent human, that's respect for one another. Yeah. And that is also going the wayside, I feel. I don't see that. I don't see much of it in my daughter's generation. At all. So that worries me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's just, I feel you need that. You need
apparently I am soft on manners.
Yes, but you also
I'm Canadian. I'm Canadian. It's a big deal.
Oh, yeah, but then I also have kids with disabilities for whom that is not necessarily easy.
Right.
So, I'm sure that your kids' peers are able to do that. Right. There's some kids for who that's difficult. So I'm sort of thinking, really, if they could just go up with their phone and text you, "Hi, how are you?" That would be a really good advance.
Yeah, but, in the world that I anticipate my kids living in at some point in time, I would expect them to have some manners and be able to use them.
How about you, Catherine? Where do you stand on all this?
Yeah,
how are your kids doing with this stuff? You spend a lot of time with girls in buses and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because on the team trips with my daughter's team, there is a point at which the phones are taken away. Because of the distraction that they could provide before a competition. The story is that there was one time when a girl's boyfriend broke up with her minutes before she was supposed to step on the ice.
Oh, no.
So that was the end of anybody having a phone. It's a little harder because sometimes the bigger kids have phones, the little ones have tablets, and they, then it's like, who's going to hold 15 tablets? And so it's difficult, but they do want to take them away at some point, to keep the distractions away, to keep them from, to make them interact with each other too, is part of the reason.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a good thing. And then you get, the one parent who's like, well, my child needs her phone. And all the other parents are like, no, she doesn't. That is not okay. You do not get to change the rule just for your kid. That is super frustrating. But that's more about what kind of person that person is than,
But then you do occasionally have the kid who uses it. I know that's not the situation in this case, but more and more kids going to be using that as a communication device. And so then if you're letting some kids really do need their phones. I know this is something
that's sort of like the fidget spinner argument, right? Like maybe if a kid really, really needs it to help them concentrate, and then all the other kids are like, well, I need it too, but they don't have how do you decide what's a legitimate?
Well, but then that's like that whole fair is not equal kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
If somebody genuinely needs it to communicate, then that's what they need.
Right.
Doesn't mean that everybody else gets one.
Right.
That's true, but then it singles out the kid who really does need it as being different. And I feel like if everybody has a phone, then the people who need it don't call attention to themselves, or do not have attention called to themselves. and that's going to be more and more of a thing as those are used. I mean, it used to be if you had a communication device, it was a big box that you lugged around. And now it's your phone, it's your iPad. And people knee-jerkly think, why does that kid never get her nose out of her iPad? Well, that, you don't know. Might be. That's how they communicate. So then do you want to say, okay, everybody here has to turn in their phones, except for you. You can keep yours. Yeah. And then do people hate that kid? Or do people say,
but ideally they know
weird.
Why. No, I think ideally they know why.
But don't we want to make everybody... you shouldn't have to have the badge punched on you of special needs. You can keep your phone because you're different. Everybody else who's normal has to turn theirs in. I fear the message that kids receive, even though it's certainly not the message anybody would want to give. But that's adding a complicating layer. Certainly if you have a bus full of kids who are just on it for entertainment, that's not an issue.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's where my brain goes all the time.
I was worried because when we went to Iceland, my daughter went on a trip with my parents, and they let her bring a friend. And I thought, oh gosh, are they gonna? I hope they'll be talking to my parents when they're at meals or whatever. And I talked to my daughter a little bit about it beforehand, but I sort of also felt like, well, the damage is done, right? If it's but they apparently they were good. There were no complaints from the grown-ups, from the chaperones. So I guess that's a good sign.
Yeah. Speaking of enabling kids on using their screens too much, let me ask you guys this. Have you ever used your phone or your screen to communicate with your child when they are in the same house?
Yes.
Yes.
There are times when there's a choice between yelling at my son to come out of his bedroom where he's got his nose in his phone or texting him. And texting him works so well. It's so quick. Yes. And I think this is probably something that some blogger online would yell at me for, but, it's so easy. Or if I'm annoyed with somebody, send a little passive-aggressive text.
Yes.
Or if I've said something mean, send them a little heart in a text.
Right.
It's become our family communication.
That's just like last week's Master of None that we talked about on our round 2.
Yes.
When Dev was in a fight with his mom, or his mom was mad at him, or it was really that they weren't in a fight. His mom was mad at him, and the way he smoothed things over was by sending her a text. Yeah. So it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe this is why I am an enabler, because I'm more comfortable communicating that way too.
Right.
Yeah, there are times when my son has friends over and then all the mothers are over and I am the one checking her phone constantly while we're trying to chat. So
I know I have to work hard to resist it sometimes.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's hard. So
see, I can say it's work. You know what? I'm working all the time. There could be an important email for work. Y'all chat.
Well, speaking of teens and entertaining them.
That's right.
Yes.
Do you have any other ideas or any other ways of entertaining teens in the summer when they actually take their nose out of their phone? Because we've had quite a few teens come and go in our house, and more to come at the end of the summer. And I'm running out of ideas. So how do you entertain teens in the summertime?
When my kids were teenagers in the summertime, phones weren't the phenomenon they are now. In fact, neither of them had one, I think, at that point. And I think now, back, man, if I could have just parked them in front of a screen, my summers would have been so much easier. So, I'm bad. But summer jobs are an excellent way to entertain
You know what?
teens.
I'm thinking that way. Yeah.
That was
That'll be
so
next summer.
wonderful. Yeah, well, we had this program in our county where kids in special education were given jobs over the summer for like 4 or 5 or 6 weeks starting. I think originally it was starting at age 14, and then the age moved up, but my kids were already in it. So that was really, really nice. I was very sad when that ended at age 22, I think, because that was our summers. there we go.
All
Your job
handled.
starts this day. and didn't have to worry too much about other things.
Mhm.
Wow. I think that's kind of the way we're leaning, because next summer,
Yeah.
especially with my daughter, she'll be 17. So
Yeah.
that's what's going to have to happen. Catherine, how about you? Well, your kids are probably doing sports camps, right?
They're doing a little bit of that. My son, who's 12, so he's not quite a teenager, he's doing some enrichment programs through the school district, which the nice thing about those is they're free.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
They
We should
have
pay for ours.
we used to have to pay for them, and they were reasonable. I mean, they certainly weren't backbreaking, but I think what their reasoning was, the more academic things were free because, if you need summer school, then
Right.
you need it, and it shouldn't be a financial burden. And then I guess they decided that, everything has its benefits, so they made them free, I think. I don't know. But anyway, he's doing
Wow.
that. He's doing that. They're each going to a week of sleepaway camp. My daughter does teach skating once a week, so it's her job is once a week for an hour. So it's not exactly taking up a lot of her
That's a
time.
start.
Right, but it is a start. And what else are they doing? I mean, she skates all summer, so that definitely helps
Yeah.
keep her busy. And I'm trying to have them do more chores around the house and pay them for them.
Yeah.
Bigger things, like not like a couple weeks ago we have like the extra refrigerator in the basement, and it was so dirty. Like, it just, something had spilled in there and had never been cleaned properly, and it was just like every time I opened it I was like, oh, gross, like that. But I of course never cleaned it, so I paid her to clean it. And that was an excellent use of my money and her
Wow.
and her
Yeah.
I
time.
couldn't pay my daughter to do that. She would flat out refuse. Oh,
Tell her
boy.
she can take pictures for Instagram as she goes.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure my daughter did Snapchat her way through that job.
Snapchat her way through it. Isn't that the case?
Yeah.
Oh my
Look at
God.
what my mom makes me do.
Yeah. But what else she does with friends is, if they go shopping, they do like the fire pit, s'mores and type
Yeah.
of thing. They sometimes go to the pool, stuff like that. Go to a friend's house and hang out, Or one time
Yeah.
she was like, I'm going to hang out with so-and-so today. And then she comes home. What did you do? Well, first we went to Dunkin' Donuts. And then later we went to Culver's, which is, like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, great. Okay, that sounds like a good use of your day. Okay. But whatever. So I don't know, Nicole, what other things does your daughter do, or you're still
Wow.
looking?
Well, thankfully this summer is a little bit easier because her and her friends are driving.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
So that in itself cuts back a lot on my effort.
Right.
But it's finding or suggesting safe and reasonable activities.
Yeah.
Right. Like, no, you're not going to drive to the beach, which is an hour away and on the 10 freeway. Forget it.
Oh,
No, you're not going to do that. But you can drive to the mall, which is just down the street.
It's all about compromise.
Mhm.
It is. It's all about negotiating. So, so there's a few more, but then of course there's the worry, is she texting while she's driving? What's going on with that? So, there's
Yes.
a little bit of that happening, but yeah, she's got a summer class, which she has to take, which we have to pay for, if you can believe that.
Ooh.
Yeah, when she, this is my little rant, when she quit tennis after her horrific season earlier this year, or last year in the fall, her coach removed her from tennis PE, and out of spite.
Yeah.
And she couldn't pick up the rest of, there was no opening in her schedule to pick up second semester PE. So she has to take it this summer, and we have to pay for it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, for goodness sake.
All because of her coach. So anyway, she's doing
That's
that
not
this
right.
summer.
Yeah.
But I think next summer a job is on the agenda.
Yes.
So
Good luck.
that's all
If
I
you
got.
can get one. Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, I think that wraps up our speed round today.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear a new speed round every Monday through Thursday.
And now we're going to bring you some of the things we've read or seen or used recently that we want to shout out and share with you in our feature called Parenting Roundabout Roundup. Catherine, what do you got to share this week?
Well, obviously we went to Iceland, and now we are trying to put together kind of a photo book, memory book of it, using lots of people's pictures. So, this will be for the whole group, not just for our family. Shutterfly has actually an app where you can have like a shared website, and then they have an app for it so that it makes it really easy to upload stuff from your phone onto this app. So that you can just, quickly add a bunch of pictures to the group website. So it's called ShareSites.
Cool.
Shutterfly ShareSites, or Site Share, or I think it's ShareSites. And it prompted me at some point to do the app, and usually I'm like, you have a website, why do you need to have an app too? Like, I don't need all this app. But it did make it way easier to upload the pictures. So
Now, if everybody combines all their pictures here, right? Is there like an up-down button where you can say, do not publish this picture of me, take this down off the internet immediately?
Well,
like if there's an embarrassing picture of somebody?
You just don't put that one up.
Oh, but I mean, aren't other people putting their pictures up too?
Oh, yeah. So you mean like if someone else
So if
put
somebody
one
else
up
took a picture of you like sleeping and drooling, could you say, could you like hit an X on that one and say, take this out of the mix, please?
I don't know.
Or you have to actually call the person
Be
up
like,
and say,
oh my God.
Really? Really? You have to put that up there?
Yeah, I think you might have to call the person. I don't know.
That's unfortunate. They should work on that. There should be a panic button on everyone.
Yeah.
Yes, I know kids sometimes also don't like.
No.
I mean, we've
True.
occasionally, my daughter has put something on Facebook and somebody has said, please take that picture of me down. So people are sensitive. There should be some. That's the next thing. Shutterfly,
get on that.
to make your app really hot, you need to have a button that kids and adults can say, this is not for public consumption.
Exactly.
How about you, Nicole? What do you have to share this week?
Well, as you know, live in Southern California, and if you've ever been here, people are obsessed with driving, and the freeways are a nightmare. And it's sad because there actually is a transit system here that I feel is quite underused. And my daughter and her friend took it last week to Anaheim, the Metrolink, which is the train that connects the different suburbs and outlying areas of LA. And it was great. It was so easy and obviously way faster than driving. It was cheap. It was comfortable. My daughter and her friend felt safe. The only complaint I have about it is the times. They do not have a great schedule. It's very sporadic, and it's a bit limited as to where you can go. But, they had a really good experience on the Metrolink, and I would recommend that if you're, you can even get to Disneyland on it. So
wow.
I was impressed that it existed, and kind of sad that not very many people use it. My daughter suggested that she and her friend go to the beach with some other friends and down to San Clemente and take the train, which is at least a 2.5-hour drive in a car because of traffic, and the train wouldn't take that long. But no, her friends were, oh my gosh, we can't take the train. Are you kidding me?
Right. This is California.
It's California.
This is California. We have to drive on the freeway with a million other people. So anyway, a big shout out to Metrolink. Thank you, but please add more times to your schedule.
I think the only reason I know that exists is that it shows up in movies and TV shows every now and then as a point for disaster. Like, wasn't it in Speed?
Stop.
Wasn't there a bomb on it in Speed? And there was a...
No, that was a bus.
No, but there was a bus. I think later in the movie there was something on the... I think it was just being built, the Metrolink, and there was something there too.
Oh, great.
And then, but that was a long time ago. And then I think the TV show Scorpion, I think, takes place in LA, and there was something on the Metrolink there too. So that's every now and then that pops up, and I go, "What? A subway in California? How could there be such a thing?
What?
I didn't know that buses
Did they make that
existed.
up just for this TV show? Apparently not."
That's my shout out.
Okay, and my shout out this week is I have once again bought a fancy toothbrush. I think I talked here a while ago about getting a toothbrush with Bluetooth because everything is required to have Bluetooth now. But the problem with that toothbrush was that in order to make that work, you had to use the app on your phone and you had to mount your phone on a mirror in your bathroom with a suction cup. So now, number one, I'm not really secure putting my phone over a sink with a suction cup. But even if I were, the mirror in my bathroom hits like just about the top of my head, which is not really helpful for seeing how you're brushing.
Right.
So I could not use the Bluetooth aspect. It was big handle and vibrated a lot, plus which it needs a plug-in charger. I don't have a plug in my bathroom. I don't have a plug near my bathroom. I had to like plug it in over by the TV. And, you know, and then it glows at night after I brush my teeth, and I don't like that. And I can't get the brush head on it because it's next to the dusty TV. Lots of problems with the big fancy electric toothbrush. So, you know, I'm going along, and all of a sudden on Facebook, I don't know if you've seen these ads for the Quip toothbrush.
No.
I saw it on Facebook. I made the mistake of clicking on it, and then, of course, you see it every time you go on Facebook. Everywhere you go.
Yeah.
But it's basically, it's a vibrating toothbrush that is about the size of a regular toothbrush, and it works on a regular battery, so you don't need to plug it in to charge it. And every 3 months, they send you a new brush head and a new battery. And it's a nice little size. It has a thing that you stick to the wall to put it in, and it actually does stick, which I have terrible luck with those things. But so far, it has not fallen into the sink. We'll see. And I like it. And, you know, you could buy a set that you get like for a year's worth of brush heads. So I did that, and supposedly if you do different things they ask you to do, then you can get free ones. So we'll see. Maybe mentioning them on the podcast. Hey, maybe mentioning it on the podcast gets free heads for life. I'm just saying. I'm pumping you here. But if anybody happens to see that on social media and wonders what it is, maybe I'll put up some pictures of it. It comes in a very cute little container, and it's, you know, one of those things that I think this is a ridiculous thing to buy. This is like a hip toothbrush. I could just go buy a toothbrush. But, you know, my birthday's coming up, and I thought, what the heck? I'm going to buy the social media toothbrush and be like the hip kids. So
I love it.
So far, so good. I'll let you know when I stop using it, as I certainly will. But so far, it's very cool. I feel all kinds of, you know, all kinds of cool using my Quip toothbrush. And it's fun. It's very, very gentle.
Love it.
And easy to hold for a small person such as myself.
Excellent.
So that is it for the things other people have done that we enjoy. And now we move into the shameless promotion of things that we have done.
That's right. For our final segment, we would like to direct you to some things on our sites or possibly elsewhere, but that promote ourselves. So, Terri, what are you going to shamelessly self-promote today?
Well, today, the monthly roundup of special needs news stories that I've been putting up on the Friendship Circle Facebook page will be up on the Friendship Circle blog. I gather those up at the end of every month so that you can look at them all in one place. So check that out and see what has been going on in the special needs news in the month of June.
Okay, great. And how about you, Nicole? What do you like to promote today?
Well, I haven't written anything lately, so
I'm going to hit you up for another post soon. So
No.
Think
I'm
of an
editing. So for those parents who have children at home this summer and are looking for things to do, check out my Pinterest boards under the inclusive class, because there's a ton of fun, engaging, related activities on there. Math, language arts, art, music, you name it. Have a look and see if you find a fun activity to do with your child this summer.
Great.
So that's Pinterest. Yeah.
And I'm going to mention something I wrote recently at highlights.com. It is called How to Spot a Song Your Tot Will Love, which is a little bit of a tongue twister that I didn't actually write myself. But
yeah.
Anyway, it's about the best kind of songs for babies, the kind of music and songs that really entertains and fascinates babies. And there's actual research that was done about this, which is kind of funny. So this piece gets into a little bit of what the research found and gives some ideas for songs that babies might like. And I included a Hamilton reference in it. So check it out at highlights.com.
Kids love the Hamilton.
They do. So even your toddler. So that's it.
I have seen videos on Twitter of toddlers singing Hamilton songs, so it's out there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com or download them from Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe so you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Nicole Eruditz, Catherine is at CHaleko, and Terri is at Momitude. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter, Roundabout Chat, and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too. Best of all, stop by our podcast page at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on all the stories we mentioned, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Moran for providing our in and out music, and I wish everyone a great week.